Does that mean that Hex will never be listed on a centralized exchange? Well, first of all, we have to assume that centralized exchanges are going to exist in 10 years. That's even a question in and of itself. But I think it still will, because I think if there's enough adoption, if the community gets big enough and loud enough and things like that, it would look very bad, and might even be bad for their business model if they don't list Hex on their exchange, because other exchanges that are listing Hex are gonna have a huge advantage in terms of business. Because if Hex becomes that big, let's say Hex becomes in the top 3 cryptocurrencies, it's one of the ones that's, that goes on the ticker on CNBC, things like that. If Hex is one of those cryptos that's that mainstream, and centralized exchanges refuse to list it, then the smaller centralized exchanges that actually list it will steal their users. Ultimately, people will end up leaving them and going for other exchanges, which will inevitably, in my opinion, push out the big exchanges, the currently big exchanges like Coinbase and Binance. So I think eventually they'll be forced to adopt it the same way originally, these traditional finance organizations and institutions gatekept Bitcoin because it wasn't in their interest. Eventually, they were forced to adopt it. They were forced to give it the respect it deserved, and I think ultimately the best tech wins. So I think ultimately Hex, Pulsechain, and PulseX will be listed on numerous centralized exchanges, but I guess we're gonna have to see.